When it comes to the ecology of Yellowstone and the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, a focus of this course will be wolves. We'll be taking a look at the reintroduction of wolves to the park in 1995 and the effects that this reintroduction has had on the wider ecosystem. Prior to 1995, wolves were extirpated from the park in 1926. And ironically, the Park Service is mostly responsible for this. Prior to the 1930s, it was the official policy of the Park Service to control predators. By control, they meant killed. And wolves and cougars and other predators were eliminated. And as twisted as this seems to us today, the idea at the time was that the predator species were not the desirable species, and the goal was to increase the population of the large ungulates, bison, elk, etc., by eliminating the predators. But after a lengthy battle, it was decided that in 1995, wolves would be reintroduced into the park with the desire to reestablish sustainable populations of wolves in Yellowstone and the surrounding region. So, 14 wolves were captured in Alberta, Canada, and relocated into Yellowstone in 1995. They were initially put in acclimation pens in the Lamar Valley, which is in this region of the park. And after a month or so, they were released. And this first batch of 14 wolves formed initially that first year 3 packs: the Rose Creek pack, the Soda Butte pack, and the Crystal Creek pack. The following year, in 1996, more wolves were released, so that approximately 30 wolves in total were relocated from Alberta, Canada into the park. These initial 3 packs, what's interesting is of these 3 initial packs, 2 of them, Crystal Creek and Soda Butte, still exists in a form today. Crystal Creek pack relocated further south into the interior and is now called the Mollies, and the Soda Butte pack relocated way down here to the southeast corner of the park and is now called the Yellowstone Delta pack. The wildlife biologists who were involved in the project to reintroduce wolves into Yellowstone in 1995 developed a naming system where they would assign a number to the wolves that they were tracking. And so this wolf pictured here is M10, M for male, number 10, or just number 10 for short. And he was one of the first wolves, first 14 wolves to be brought down from Alberta. And he's interesting because number 10 mated with number 9, F9, while they were still in the acclimation pen before they even released. So this mating produced the first litter of pups to be born in Yellowstone in around 70 years. Number 10 is also famous because his life was cut short. A few months after being released, he was illegally shot near Red Lodge, Montana, northeast of the park. And his number 10 getting gunned down became a symbol of the conflict between local interests involving hunting and ranching and the interests of the wildlife biologists and the interests of out-of-state or out-of-area interests who were really for the reintroduction of wolves into Yellowstone. Anyway, this first pairing, this first litter, the wildlife biologists fortunately decided to go and locate the den where this first litter of pups resided and to relocate them back to Yellowstone. So they were brought back to Yellowstone, and this first litter of pups produced 2 notable wolves. One was number 18 that went on to become alpha female of the Rose Creek pack once number 9 died, and the other is number 21, which went on to become the alpha male of a pack that formed a few years later called the Druid Peak Pack. And it's now estimated that around half of all Yellowstone wolves share DNA with number 9 and number 21. So over the course of this class, you will be spending a lot of time thinking about wolves, reading about wolves, watching videos about wolves, and hopefully when we go to Yellowstone, we'll actually see wolves. Last time I was there with students, we saw wolves on several different occasions, never particularly close, but close enough to see sort of the social nature of wolves interacting with other wolves. So when it comes to the impact that the wolves have had on the ecosystem, there's this idea, there's this theory which is referred to as trophic cascade. So trophic levels are the levels of the food chain, and wolves are apex predator. They're at the top of the food chain. And the idea of trophic cascade is that when wolves are part of the ecosystem, they're part of the food web, they exert pressures on other species through predation, but also just having wolves around changes the behavior of certain species like elk. So they won't browse as long on young trees, so the trees are more likely to survive, which then gives rise to a growth of beaver populations because there's more trees for them to eat and things like that. So one of the ideas that I'm asking you to think about is the interactions that have resulted at different trophic levels in the ecosystem because wolves are now a part of the ecosystem again. Another thing that's worth thinking about is what is the value of all of this? What's the value of wild wolves? Is there economic value? Certainly there is in terms of tourist dollars and things of that, but are there economic costs? Hunters would say so. Is there ecological value? And certainly you can make the argument through the process of trophic cascade that yes, there are ecological values. So to return to Aldo Leopold a little bit here, Leopold had many encounters with wolves while he was serving as a forester in the Southwest, in New Mexico and Arizona. And one of the things that Leopold communicates in his Sand County Almanac is how his appreciation of wolves and his philosophy about the place wolves have in the ecosystem and in wilderness in general changed over time. And so while he was a forester in the Southwest, Leopold participated in predator control programs, gunning down wolves. And in one of his essays in a Sand County Almanac, Thinking Like a Mountain, he describes the transition in his thinking where he starts to see that a mountain is not healthy without wolves, that the absence of wolves leads to a population of deer which overbrowse the vegetation, which diminishes the quality of the soil and causes erosion and all these other effects. And one of the most impactful paragraphs in the entire book, A Sand County Almanac, is in this essay, Thinking Like a Mountain. And it goes like this. So to set this up a little bit, what Leopold is reflecting on is a situation where he came across some wolves while he was out, and pretty much without thinking, picked up his rifle, and I don't think he was alone, and started gunning down these wolves, started shooting these wolves. And after all the wolves were shot, approaching the wolves, and one of the wolves, a female wolf, was not quite dead, and he gets close to this wolf and sees this wolf die right there before him, and he wrote these words: I thought that because fewer wolves meant more deer, that no wolves would mean hunter's paradise. but after seeing the green fire die, I sensed that neither the wolf nor the mountain agreed with such a view. The green fire, of course, is the life that went away from the wolf's eyes as it died. Anyway, that's it for this short slide presentation. Now, you're going to get a lot more time to think about wolves and to watch videos and do readings about wolves. And of course, the companion book for this this class is American Wolf, which is all about the reintroduction of wolves and the cultural and social dynamics of reintroduction and the conflicts that it has created. All right.